You're listening to Zoom the TBT with Charge and Hayner.
One more time for 2024. It's Charge Arabs at Zoom the TBT. And the end. This is the end of the season, the end of TBT. Congrats to our champions, Carmen's crew. Charge, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, Yeah, there's kind of a long and hectic weekend getting back to work. Life's crazy, but I had a great time this weekend watching the championships, and we'll wrap it up and put a bow on 2024.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because we're also both wearing our ancestral reasons for covering. You have the Shard shirt, and I have the old school Memphis State retro Tiger, which is always a fun thing. Yeah, Charge, and of course, it's always fun. So anyway, so we'll have a few superlatives, and we're gonna have a guest come in a bit. But like before we get into this, like, so what was your vibe in Philly? Like, how much did you enjoy? Like, what was the vibe there for you?
Yeah, that was a great crowd. I wasn't sure what to expect. I had not gone to this was actually my first TBT live championship game in however many years we've been doing this. I think I've seen every other level from semifinals to playing games to slam dunks to 3 points. So I think I've got my bingo card completely full now, and I wasn't sure what to expect being I guess let's call it a neutral region out there, but the arena itself was great. The crowd showed up and filled up, and you had a good mix of a lot of familiar people. Houston represented really well, better than I thought they would. Carmen,
yeah, that's
of course. Everline was small and mighty, but I just thought the vibe was great, and the city was fantastic. So that's the beauty of kind of taking a TBT vacation. You watch some ball, have a day off, and Philly, I think it's a little more of a bad rap than they deserve. Loved going down and kind of touring the city, seeing what was out and about, and it was great. I love Philly.
Yeah, Nick, we both lived. In case you're wondering, we're obviously we're both here still. But I love Philly. It's my second or third trip down there for TBT because it's so close to New York. Much like you get to do Indy or you do a lot of the Midwest stuff. Whenever it's a New York or a Philly or a New England region, it's really easy for me to get to. I saw back in the day. I saw Eric Devendorf try to fight the entire 20th only team my first TBT, which was fantastic. Got me hooked immediately, and it's just how it's grown too. That was like a little like Division III University of Philadelphia I've never heard of small stadium. And now they're doing Rupp. They're doing Freedom. So this has grown a lot in 11 years. And I'm really proud in our small part in helping make this a little bigger in our very, very limited small role. So, Charge, I'm going to go ahead and do a few supporters. Before we get into this, too, we're going to have a couple guests come on. We definitely have one coming on, and I just actually invited another. We'll see if he comes on, but we'll see what happens. There's a few superlatives, and you can weigh if you want. I know we didn't really prep much today because, frankly, it's the end of the season. We're both really tired. We spend a lot of time doing this. We really enjoy it, but at the same time, we both have careers. My clients want their fucking drawings, and you've got stuff to do. So back to real world. I'm getting right off this. I'm actually both getting right back in the studio, getting some work done. So that note, let's go ahead and start with a few of the superlatives, and Charge will weigh on some of them, some he won't. And my favorite TBT moment, non-Philly. And we try to separate some of the Philly stuff and not Philly. I think that's what we probably both agree with because we're both D3 guys. And I think my favorite TBT moment of 2024 was We Are D3 getting their first win. Like, there's so many great moments. It's such a competitive and really engaging. And it's really funny because you know who would like to talk about that, actually?
I bet you have the coach of We Are D3 on speed dial.
I bet I do, actually. It's Reg. What's up, Reg?
What's up, guys? I was tuning in, and I was like, you know what? I'll see what's going on here in your neck of the woods here.
Yeah. It's our final show. We're loose as hell. We're just keeping it chill tonight. So, obviously, we were talking about our favorite moment in TBT. And I think we both agree our favorite moment was you guys getting your first win, finally. I mean, that was a big moment in TBT, a big minute for legitimacy, a big moment for a couple of D3 guys. So, can you walk us through what that meant to you and your team?
Well, a lot of people go to school for 8 years. They're called doctors or whatever that line is. But we finally got it. I think it was emotional just because of the journey. And I think like you guys have talked about this in previous shows, but like to figure out TBT and how to structure a team and how to kind of build on it. Like, that's why first-year alumni teams, part of my French, suck because they don't know, like, how intense it can be. And I do think there's certain formulas with how certain teams need to play or how we need to play. It just took us a little bit. I wasn't the brightest bulb in the tree growing up, so it took me a while to figure it out. But no, it meant a lot to the players. It meant a lot to the guys that have been with us and previously. And not for nothing, selfishly, now I want more of it. So so it's opened up a lot of avenues that, like, whether it be sponsorships for us, more players have already come out of the woodwork and things like that. I think just to prove a concept went a long way. But I'm so proud of the players because I do believe now, if Kennedy doesn't, I'm going to play the what if game. If Kennedy doesn't get kicked out in the second quarter of that game versus Carmen's crew, I honestly think Heartfire repeats. I honestly do. Carmen's crew is phenomenal, and they're great. I just think that Kennedy, seeing him up close, is a pretty special player, and to be that close against Heartfire, Dayton actually proved to be, I think, a stronger region than myself included thought about.
Definitely. I mean, it ended up being a lot stronger than I thought. So were your players did they feel this really helped legitimize Division III basketball?
Yes and no. They're pissed that they didn't beat Heartfire. I think we had our shots, and but I think absolutely, I think it just gives them cred. I think a lot of them actually it helped a lot of players with contracts kind of get some more money, which is phenomenal, which is what we do it for. And a couple more opportunities for others that didn't have opportunities. So I think having more games in the tournament to kind of get at least some momentum was big for us. And it was good just to kind of see the support from everybody. And it was awesome. It was good to see Charge and his son in person. That was great. They're right behind my bench. Breakdown. It was awesome.
Oh yeah. It by far was my best TBT moment in TBT history. I've seen a lot of games, a lot of fun games, a lot of emotional games. And one of mine before that was Red Scare versus I don't know if they were Cam Bulldogs at the time or the MAC team, whatever they were called. But that game was insane back in Columbus. But this game was just start to finish, just so intense, and Red kind of commented on just the raw emotion. It wasn't just the players, but the crowd was feeling it. The post game celebration was so epic. I mean, people, you see these post game celebrations, but like I said, 8 years getting that monkey off your back, it was just, you felt it all come out. And being a fan of the game and connected to this team, it was just amazing. David Hole was awesome, but this game was by far, you couldn't script a better game, and this team deserved to win. And D3, like I said, I'm sure it's a little different where D3, but I'm sure these guys, they're just pros, so they probably downplay that a little bit, and they're just out there to win. They're out there to beat Heartfire, but incredible experience.
Yeah, if you guys hadn't settled for threes, you would have won that game too. I mean, if they just had gotten one more look. What was kind of cool was at the end of Heartfire, it was almost like the Dayton fans weren't know what to think about us. They're already rooting for Heartfire, and it's kind of like Rocky, the end of Rocky. Like how all the stands start cheering Rocky's name even though Rocky loses. You can hear on the broadcast, and it was so loud against Heartfire. D3 in the whole stadium, because it was packed because Red Scare and Carmen's crew were playing after us, and they wanted us to knock off the champs and everything like that. That was a cool moment. If one of those threes goes, who knows? But that's why we play. We might saw you in Philly. We might saw you in Philly if one of those goes down.
But that's why this tournament, I think, is so addicting, because it is such an awesome experience. Dayton was a great host. I thought they ran things the right way. It was pretty well done.
Yeah, Dayton. I can't remember how many years in a row they have this, and but yeah, it's every year you go there. You know the from. I mean, it's the little things. Dayton is probably one of the only places that doesn't charge parking. They got great ushers. I mean, there's so many little things that is like, oh, it's really cool to
You're
go
such a
to
cheap
Dayton.
bastard. Yeah,
No,
you're talking about
it's
parking.
crazy. I am because it's important for a fan. You don't want to go rolling up there paying $27 to watch a game
Rupp
or
Arena. It was
$20.
robbery.
But it's Dayton values their fans, and they're going to make it affordable, family fun. That is great, and so
I'm
that's
pretty sure I got to know everybody in Dayton that entire week and a half we were prior. My staff and I got to frequent several of the local restaurants and bars, and they are like really awesome people out there in Dayton. Like
it is a friendly town.
They love their flyers. They obviously, you know, when it comes to just food, you know, might be a little bit more on the expensive side for a charge just because of expenses. But
yeah,
no.
I hit Chipotle between the games, so yeah, that was my budget for the day. I had and it was the most interesting Chipotle ever. So we won't break on their Chipotle. But,
okay, I'm gonna break up.
That's where we were.
Dayton is fantastic. It's a wonderful region. Reg, we have you on every year. We're going to have you on again. We have a couple guests. We're kind of making this show quick, so I'm not going to hold you long tonight. It's great to see you. One quick question. Well, I'm going to leave you with this. First win in, are we going to see you next year, and how deep can you go?
Yes. I think we have a team that majority of them will be back, which is great. I think we have a chance to kind of get a deep run. We've proven it again. I think I would love to, and I'm going to talk this into existence. I want to host a region with stars of stores. I want to.
Funny you say that. We'll be talking about this region later.
Keep watching.
I'm going to push it into existence. New England has all the D3s concentrated around them. Put UConn, it could put stars of stores of 1. I'll even take a 3 seed now. Beggars can't be choosers. I'm just saying. I'll take a 3 seed.
You win one game and you want a 3 seed. You
put us on the other side of the bracket and let's pack it. Because I do believe, like, on a selfish note, we could pack the crap out of that with the amount of people out there, and it would. I think just having it on an East Coast vibe, I think it just fits. Stores, Connecticut, very similar to a Dayton type of campus. It just makes sense, and I think Mark, I messaged you on Twitter. Please respond. But like I said, I think like we'll be back, and we'll continue to grow the brand and all that stuff. And thank you for all that you guys do and all the support. And definitely I'll keep watching. But we'll be back.
Keep watching, because we're going to talk about regions at the end, and you'll kind of you teed it up perfectly. Reg, always a pleasure. We'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Be well,
Take
boys.
care. Appreciate you. We'll see ya.
I mean, Reg, D3, definitely my highlight tournament non-championship was them winning. And we'll get into superlatives, but actually I do want to talk. We have one more guest on who is going to come on. I don't want them waiting because their time is valuable, because it's somebody pretty important. So, Charge, what was one of the most impressive returning teams that had to win 3 straight road games to make the Final 8?
This one here, and when you say road games, it wasn't even road games. I mean, we're talking, I mean, you couldn't get anywhere. Kansas State.
K-State.
Aftershock.
Wichita.
Max Street. I mean, it was probably the hardest route of anyone to get out of there. I'm sure not many people predicted this Team Colorado, to go deep in the tournament. But I was fanning these guys right from the beginning. I had them in my finals, but oh well. La Familia ended up losing, so once we get Zach on here. So Team Colorado head
coach from Stone on. Coach!
What's up, guys? How are we doing?
Hey, how you doing?
Reg crashed for a minute. We always like to have Reg on. So thanks for joining us tonight. So what a great run. I mean, it didn't end the way you wanted, but 3 wins. I mean, the state championship. You got to beat up on some Big 12 guys as you guys were in the Big 12. Like, how jazzed were you just walking out of, like, the championship WE belt, walking out of Kansas with just, like, them in your teeth?
Yeah, I mean, it was special for our group. An alumni team, mostly Colorado guys, and then we have a few regional guys. We're representing the entire state of Colorado. So to have a bunch of Colorado dudes going to Kansas, and as you guys said, beat Kansas State and Wichita State and Kansas, like that's huge, and it was a special run for sure.
Yeah, this was kind of the rebirth for Colorado. So some of the folks who've been around for a very, very long time remember back in 2015 and 2016,
Yep.
2017. This is probably one of the most feared teams in the TBT. And then recent years, unfortunately, COVID didn't have a team, a couple years without a team, struggled last year and took a first round loss. So this is really the rebirth. So I guess what do you see the future for Team Colorado? So it's baby steps every year. Where do you see the future Team Colorado going?
Yeah, I mean, first let me say how hard it was to get Team Colorado back after COVID, right? Like, it's not an easy process, and we're a mom and pop sort of organization, right? We are all in-house at the University of Colorado. Coach Boyle supports it wholeheartedly. I'm an assistant on staff. It was literally me, a graduate assistant, a former walk-on, and a former GA that are running the whole thing. So we're all in-house. So it was a lot of work, a lot of planning to get it going. But talking about the future, I will say we have a lot of momentum right now. Coach Boyle called us after every single game. He was hyped. He watched every game on the couch with his son Pete, and Buff Nation really bought into that whole week in Wichita. So talking to our current team and then former players that are playing in various spots, there's a lot of momentum, a lot of interest right now. So we'll see what happens going forward.
Okay. We talk a lot about Regents here because we're looking forward, not backwards. And we're really thrilled with the run you made, really thrilled with how great your team was, and really thrilled what it means for the brand of the school and just how much fun your team was. But there's no Western Regions ever thing. It always ends up being a Big Ten, SEC, Big East Invitational in the Midwest. It's what this always ends up being. How hard will it be to get TBT out somewhere west? Like, I don't know, Boulder. Like, how hard would that be?
Josh Repine, who serves as kind of our GM, and Derek White, who's had a big part in kind of bringing TBT back, especially this year. We've had conversations about that, and that's something that Josh has brought up, especially with Colorado State having a team now, and New Mexico having a team, and some of those teams out west. Like, why not Boulder? Why not somewhere in Colorado? I think the fan support would be there, especially if you get a CU-CSU matchup. Everyone goes crazy for the Rocky Mountain Showdown. So I think it brings a level of intrigue and, would make it very well worth our while to do it in Boulder.
So, like, how would we stock this, though? We do Colorado, we do SCSU, we do Boise. Those would all get some fan bases. Do we beg Utah back in? Do we put the enchantment there? Can we get basically a BYU team in? Can we get the Runnin' Rebels back in? Like, how can you stock Boulder to make it a fan event?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest question. You have a good solid four right there with Boise, Colorado State, Enchantment. I think they all make sense with, how we play college basketball and some of the non-conference matches we had there. And then, LA Cheaters, an easier trip to Boulder than it might be to Wichita. Whoever else is in LA. I think there's enough West Coast teams that you could host a West Coast regional. It's just a matter of executing. And I think, on any college campus, that's the hardest thing with facilities and everything that we have going on in the summer. But I think there's definitely interest there from both sides.
Now, have you guys explored it a little bit with TBT yet, or would this be we just got done with TBT, we got to go plug this and put this together?
Yeah, I mean, there was initial conversations last summer. There's nothing concrete. Like I said, I have a full-time job trying to make the Colorado Buffaloes as good of a program as it can be, and looking forward to the 24-25 season. So, now
Big 12 return.
Big 12 return, exactly. And, Kansas was a good one for that. But kind of looking forward to that. And, we'll have a lot of momentum, as I said, here in August as we get all of our former players back on campus. We have a reunion, our first football game of every year. So we have 50 former players coming back to campus. So I'm sure TBT will be a big topic of conversation there.
And is there a story with the football team? Is there a story with the football team? Is there some buzz there? There's some coach there who gives you.
Yeah, there's some coach there. Coach Prime, Shadur Sanders, Travis Hunter. So there's a lot of buzz that goes along with our football team right now, which is great. There's, campus is awesome. We're really looking forward to football season and basketball season.
Yeah, so TBT 2025 has to be something to look forward to. TBT historically has rewarded team success to prior year in future years. So we might be looking at a number one seed Colorado Buffaloes team next year.
Hey, man, I'm not sure. TBT's kind of created a chip on our shoulder with some of the things that happened going into Wichita. And then, they're way too early top 25 or way too early, tournament champion for next year, not even mentioning us.
I saw that.
They're kind of putting manufacturing a chip on the Buffs' shoulder.
Yeah, I saw that. I also am looking this up right now. So it's 33 minutes from Denver to Boulder. It's like you basically are in Denver. So it's not like this is a hard airport to get to. It's not like there's not stuff to do. It's worth discussing, to be honest with you.
Hayner, you're doing my recruiting pitch right now. Like, you get the best of both worlds. You get the best college town in America, and you get the big city right down the street.
So it's pretty funny, actually. We're going to talk about, and I'm literally actually adding something to something we're talking about right now as we speak. Charge asked him a nice new question, so I can actually do a little bit of graphics work real quick.
Well, no, you done tapped me out, so way to put me on the spot. But I had nothing. Earned my pay. I was supposed to be retired this year, so I don't know. Yeah. So but the Colorado run, like I said, was impressive as it gets. And how important was it to get an NBA guy like Roberson involved, and what did he mean to the kind of some of the younger core that you had? Because obviously that experience helped, and he was one of the top players in the entire TBT this year.
Yeah, Dre was the heartbeat of our team. Like, I've said it multiple times, he was the best defender in TBT. There's a reason he was chasing Stephen Curry around screens for 8 years in the NBA. Was one of the best defenders in the world. But, I go back. Dre was at CU when I was a student manager at CU. So the relationship goes back 10 years now, right? So, having that and, convincing Dre to play and him really needing 5-on-5 burn after being injured for a couple of years and, still showing that he has a lot of tread left on the tires. He was the heartbeat. He brought the mentality. We embraced the defense and rebounding, which is what all Colorado Buffaloes know that played for Tad Boyle. So Dre lived that, and he brought that mentality every day. And, especially in Wichita, we lived that. We dominated the paint. We out-rebounded our, opponents by at least 8. And then we held them under 40%. So hit all of our goals in Wichita.
Well, Coach Rube, we want to make sure we respect your time. Thanks for coming by. We can't wait to have you on the show next year. We can't wait to see what happens next with the Buffs alums. So, a deep run is probably in the offing again next year.
We appreciate it, guys. Thanks for all you do covering everything. I enjoy following along.
I appreciate you. Thanks for coming on.
See you soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, Coach Rube. It's always nice to have some heavyweight guys. Colorado was like, I knew they were going to be good. I didn't know they'd be as good as you thought they were going to be. You really were basically on the ride.
My first view of the roster, it just jumped out at me, and obviously dropped off now for the sake of time. But we talked about the alumni teams they had to run through, but you also had TNT in there. You had Cheers in there. This was a loaded bracket, and to get out of that unscathed, and like I said, rebuilding this squad. So it's been non-existent for 3 out of the 4 years prior, and then a tough first round loss last year. So just impressive. And I agree with them that probably didn't get enough recognition for what they did, especially in some of these rankings and different things. So good call out there, but amazing.
Yeah. Hey, it's nice. It's nice. It's one of those things. Like at the press conference, I actually asked the Carmen's Cruise guys, and you weren't there. It was actually the final, and I said, okay, you've had 15 minutes to celebrate. What's next? And they acted like I was a huge asshole because it's just like, yeah, we're done this year. Like, I'm glad you're still getting champagne off you, but let's keep rolling. Like, what's next? And that's what it comes to. It's always moving forward. We're always moving forward to event. We're not looking back. So we talked about our favorite TBT moment. That was obviously a D3 win. So your favorite in-person TBT moment or vibe. And this will surprise a lot of people because I downgrade Louisville. I am obviously a Memphis guy. I love the Tigers, but I give credit where credit's due. And the energy at Freedom Hall, the fan base, the stadium experience, because it's my first trip to Freedom Hall. And it's their second time hosting it. And I could not have been more impressed with the fans, with the venue, with frankly, the Mr. and Mrs. Bourbon was impressive. I had a cocktail. It was outstanding. And the just general vibe. Donovan Mitchell came and he was the coolest guy. He signed out the back door for 2 hours. I did the press, I did the interviews, I left. He was still signing. The man was just a man of the people. So the vibe was unmatched. Now, Charge, you went to a couple places in person. What's kind of your favorite in-person moment?
Yeah, I really couldn't select one in-person moment, but I just thought the TBT this year just really felt different in a good way. I love the short window where the two it used to be 2 weekends, so now we were kind of spread that over 6 days. But I watched probably more basketball with my son and family this year than I have in a long time. Live, traveled to Philadelphia. It was great seeing, and these guys are in the chat. Matt and Vinny, Jake, and Butler, and it's just the little things. I almost left Mike Girdle at the hotel when I drove some of their guys to the airport, and seeing guys like which we made a quick turnaround. He got there, but seeing I call him G League Jeff. I mean, he's a legend in the G League, and just seeing those type of people, and people so we've been doing this for what 8-9 years. I don't even know anymore. So putting that all together just really came together this year. With the way the regionals fell and what I was able to kind of see and do, and it was great. But yeah, no, Vinny, you get nothing. But the cash. So you're one of three winners. So once you repeat, maybe we'll have to. We got a good core. Maybe we'll get a belt or a trophy or something down the road.
Belt or a trophy. It's ridiculous.
This
Crazy
year,
too is like, and by the way, if I still have to pay my bounty, so lawfully I talked to Coach Eulis, and I think the whiskey is delivered to him. So we're gonna have them get their whiskey for knocking out the Ville, contingent upon me getting them some whiskey soon. But yeah, Vinny, you get nothing. You get absolutely nothing besides the money.
Just cold hard cash.
Just cold hard cash, which is really all that matters, to be honest. Okay, favorite non-championship weekend game. I don't think your mind works this way because you're just kind of a big vibe guy. Again, I'm staying in Louisville. It is one I think it's as important you're there. And the Louisville sideline game was so much more competitive than I thought it was going to be because, I really thought Louisville was going to crush them. They lost Keene. They had some massive losses. And their new backcourt, first of all, Jermaine Morrow was incredible. He went from HBCU a couple years ago where he dominated at Harlem and came on the hardwood and just did more ass kicking. I mean, he came there and he was great. Verge was incredible, and their bigs fought hard. So they were a surprising team that really almost knocked off the Ville, and it was an instant classic between one of the oldest brands in TBT versus one of the new up and coming teams that's really going to be around for a while. So it's not only a matchup that was great then; it's a matchup you might see in years things because I think Sideline liked Louisville, and Louisville obviously is from Louisville, so that might be something we'll see again. I think quite possibly. Charles, was there any game that came up with you, or do you want to just kind of keep going?
Yeah, no, I'll just talk briefly. And I think you're going to have kind of in-person bias on some of these things. Obviously,
yeah, sure. That's part of it, yeah.
But Assembly Ball and Eberline was great to me. So obviously there's some connections on the Assembly Ball side to the old Eberline Friday Beers kind of DNA, and the game was great. The atmosphere was outstanding. A little bit of a David versus Goliath. I think everybody was still trying to figure out is Eberline really this good or not? And so I enjoyed the game through 3 quarters, and I had to drive to Chicago. And so I'm on the phone. My wife's kind of giving me the play-by-play of the Elam ending. So I mean, she was awesome giving me the play-by-play. So even though I couldn't hear what a dramatic Elam ending that was, but the whole kind of start to finish of that game, and the culmination of this let's call it rivalry between Assembly Ball and Eberline was just all coming together and just made for a fantastic game.
Yeah, rivalry. I don't know. It's interesting because obviously Assembly Ball's leadership is the same leadership as the lifestyle of the armored athlete. Good friends of ours, AJ Mahar, wonderful GM, wonderful guy, and of course the leadership of Drive, Eberline Drive, which is Mitchell and Jake and Vinny. That's just a great bunch of guys. These are guys who are in this for the right reasons. Who are just all quality people. So it's one of those games where both teams were just led by great people. You got Julian Gamble playing. You got Anthony Clemens on a heater. That was. I actually almost want to change my picks. That was an incredible game, and they really tried to give it up at the end. It made it hilarious. Did you see the way too early favorites, by the way, that TBT listed?
Yeah. I think Eberline is represented on that list. I can't remember what number, 6.
Five,
yeah, so was a 5, yeah. And I'm assuming it was the only non-alumni team on that list. Obviously, the way too early is just get a rise out of some people. But yeah, I mean that's what we love. Andrew's great at sharing content and getting people to talk TBT, and great tweet this afternoon, and served its purpose, and hopefully Everline to be back with a similar team. Obviously, things change, especially at non-alumni teams in a hurry. So I hope they come back and make another run with that same core.
Here's hope. I mean, Clemens was on just a heater this whole tournament. So it's a really incredible thing. Okay, this one should be pretty easy because there's a few new regions. What was do you have a favorite new region? Because I certainly do.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's I mean, no brainer. I've been to a lot of TBT regionals around the areas from the West Virginias, the Daytons, the Columbuses, and to have a region in Butler. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with that ever. And so it was just nice being so close and being able to see kind of those first three rounds up close and personal. Should have seen a fourth, but they decided to move that thing to Houston. But what are you going to do? That happens. But yeah, so I mean, just totally selfish was because of location, but it ended up being packed with great teams. And I think these teams, you bring that core teams back, you're going to have another great regional. You're pretty much built in there. I don't see any of those teams not coming back.
No, it was a great region. And even the teams that didn't go as far, like the Purdue alums, are always a tough out. You've got some really quality teams there. That region, and I'm going to agree with you because I had not been to. I went to 3 new regions this year. I saw Louisville, Lexington, and Butler. And I thought Louisville was great, but it's not a new region, so they're a repeater. And I thought Lexington was great, but compared to what I expected it to be, I thought Hinkle was better. Like my one day at Hinkle was amazing. Like it's a historic stadium. The fans were elite. You're on top of people. It's a really small, intimate space. It's a mecca of college basketball. It's got history. They filmed Hoosiers there. How are you going to argue with that? And I mean, the only thing I regret, I really want to fix this, and maybe we can get this next year, is if I do end up in Indy, I want to meet Butler Blue. I wasn't able to. I missed meeting Butler Blue. That's just a real bummer. It's a dog guy. Didn't get to meet the dogs. That's a pretty sad thing. But yeah, I think we agree. Hinkle was probably my favorite new region as well. Keeping this moving, favorite and or most impressive debutante team. There were a lot of new teams this year, and a lot of them made pretty good runs, actually. In fact, two new teams made the semis. We're 5-0. So, or 4-0 to get to the Phillies. So, what was your most impressive and or favorite new team?
Yeah, I was really kind of torn on this one. I already spoke to Assembly Ball a little, so I'm going to leave that one as is. But that was great for Indianapolis area to have a team, to have a guy like Yogi representing. They played well, but even though they weren't the most impressive, Stars of Stores overly entertained me with what happened on there. So they train wrecked after beating the living daylights out of Herkimer, partied all night long. First year alumni team. So there's to me, like I said, kind of entertaining. They got real cocky. So it was just a weird vibe for me, and so I wasn't pulling for them. So they were the most intriguing. But I think the thing is, we all recognize what Stars of Stores brings to the table, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. So even though I used it as like, oh gosh, these guys are a mess, and enjoy some of that. I mean, these guys really bring a lot to the TBT table, and they're setting the table for future teams.
Yeah, I mean that's a really big pick because, like, I think culturally they're one of the bigger teams. I mean, I didn't even consider them they flame out so early, and they weren't super impressive this year. But they have infrastructure, they have NIL, they have clear leadership, clear organization, and a lot of talent and a crazy fan base. So I actually think it's a wonderful pick. I'm going to go a bit different. I'm going to go a little more traditional. I'm usually the troublemaker here, but I'm going to go ahead and go with La Familia. All respect to Cougs. Cougs made the final. They were great, but they felt a little one-man bandish time. Familia wasn't as impressive in their semifinal, but Sestina not being there hurt. And I like the way they were organized. And plus with the brand, the thing about this being big is that having a true blue blood in TBT really opens a few doors for other blue bloods. It kind of broke a seal, I think. So I think not only were they just super impressive going 4-1, making Philadelphia probably actually being the best team if they have Sestina. I think actually, honestly, if Sestina, I think they win that title. I really do. I think they win the whole thing. I think they're the most impressive team, especially going forward. But I really do like the Stores pick. That's not a bad pick. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with too. So that's a really, 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 really strong pick.
Yeah. So Familia, obviously GM of the year. I can't remember the gentleman's name. I think you had him on ZoomTheTBT or some of the. Or you talked to them.
Never got them on.
So they were the GM of the year, but highly organized team. I think we were looking elsewhere for the GM of the year, but hey, we can't have it all. And But I think well done. A lot of resources, but they maximize, use the resources right in the right way, and got critical players of that program, playing for their team. So yeah, can't really dispute that too much. And but yeah, no, nice pick with that as well.
Yeah. So best game overall, we're gonna keep this pretty quick because we only get a few more things. I don't want to keep us up too late. But my best overall, I think actually, as much as it was kind of a slugfest and it ended really well, it ended with a lot of tough shots. I think that for me, the semis between the Cougs and Everline, because Everline was dead. Like they were dead. Like they were dead to rights, dead. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, like they come down and hit impossible horse shots, not horse shit. I mean, you can say that too. Horse shots for like a solid minute. Like, hey, this guy's triple covered and falling down. Let's hit a shot. And they just clawed and clawed and clawed that way back in the game. They almost won, and that was like kind of hit their whole run in a game. They fell short, but like they didn't cheat the fan base. They didn't cheat themselves. They went out on their swords. That's all you can ask for. If you're gonna lose, just lose with honor. And they played their asses off. Charge, did you have a best game overall? The one that just really just made you happy?
It's kind of an easy one. Just looking at the chat, this guy Zach here thinks Everline should sign Mantis, and I can't agree more. I mean, watching him with the crew this year, and just kind of how he brings entertainment to the game. We can all use a little bit of that as they're heading into the Elam down at Zillion. He's taking off his warm ups, and I still think he'll take Midian one-on-one if it came down to that. But yeah, they got smart. Let's make a trade. I want Mantis, Jake. So nothing, no disrespect to him, but yeah, we need Mantis. The guy's dead eye.
So what's funny is actually I know a guy who knows Marzo who's actually one of my jump training guys. Why?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And actually, he just texted me today, so I'll have to. He's supposed to come lift with me in Brooklyn if I get my legs back to working. That's a different story. So yeah, that was also a really good game.
Yeah,
okay,
but that game overall, really quick, was I picked
Yeah.
the championship game. This particular, you can group the semis and the finals together, but every single game, and I don't know if it's happened in TBT history before the Elam ending era, where all three games in the semifinals, finals came down to next basket wins. Every single game you had that, and so just the intensity of that matchup was insane. In the championship, I mean, you can't go wrong. Carmen's wins their second title, which, like I said before, now it was all about overseas elite, and nobody's ever been able to kind of pull those things off. The atmosphere was great, and just really loved that game and the experience and how close that entire semifinal weekend was.
Definitely. I mean, those were just it was a really fun weekend. Philly's a really fun city, and we're not talking out of turn because they're going to do their own press on this. But my understanding is, and because only insiders really listen to the show, so we're not really talking out of turn. They're going to say we're not going to announce the region yet. But my understanding is the Philadelphia deal is a 3-year deal. So while they're going to be like, we don't know where the finals are, they're going to do all the press stuff. I'm pretty sure Philly will be the finals game next year. I could be wrong. I'm not a smart man. But that's my understanding. To that point, talking about regions. We're going to do a whole region discussion at the very end with a map and bells and whistles and all that crap. But what's a region we need next year? In Charge, I think we're on the exact same page here.
Yeah, I think Stores. So we talked about them being kind of one of the favorite new teams for a number of reasons, but I think it just sets up some really interesting matchups out there. Obviously, they have the funding, the support behind it, and so I think it's going to be done. It's going to be done right. It's going to be professional. It's going to be a first class experience, not only for the Stores but any team that plays there. I think they're going to kind of feel the effort that went in there. Plus, opens up something over on the East Coast that we haven't seen in some time. So. We've had Rutgers somewhat recently, Syracuse somewhat recently, but I think it's time to kind of move it there. Providence is already, looking at putting a team in. They try to get in 2021, so obviously very easy commute for those. I think you get Bayheims down there. You heard Reg on the call. He wants to be a co-host down there. I'm obviously very big D3. Community out there in that area. So I just think it makes perfect sense for TBT to make a move for Stores. Obviously, they're going to have to eliminate someone, which I don't think we'll get too much in that conversation today, but it's just I think a really good play for a lot of reasons.
So it's funny, actually, Jake Hirschman actually kind of had my answer as potential options. UConn. I was going to mention Auburn, Arkansas, especially. I think Syracuse might not be hosting again for a while. I think the ship might have sailed on that. But Auburn's been begging for one. Arkansas's been begging for one. I don't know if they're going to get, but we're going to talk about that. But I think UConn's a clear pick as well. For the reasons you said, there's a lot of teams. There's Providence. There's a bunch of people that can go out there. The D3 team, I didn't think about that, but it's a natural thing. You could probably get Syracuse there. I think UConn will work, and that's from someone who really has no desire to go to Hartford ever again as long as I live. But I guess I'll be going there because it's only a 4-hour drive for me, so that would probably be where I end up if there's a region. So I really don't want it to happen, but we'll see. So we'll see what happens. Also, I have to think about this. Jake Hirschman also wrote here. It says, would kill for a Lansing Ann Arbor region if any of these Michigan teams can ever put something together. You know what's interesting is like just put it in Detroit. Like just put it in Detroit. I mean, like I would. It's a really cheap airport. It's cheap in the summer. It's not a bad city. There's a lot actually to do. I mean, put it in Detroit. I'm listening. If you get Michigan State, you can move the drive up there. You could maybe even move a couple Big Ten teams up there. I'm not saying it's a no-brainer, but like it's not the dumbest idea I've ever heard. Okay, on that note, Charge, let's just get to some general stuff and have some fun here because we're pretty chill at this point. So let's get to the sort of some closing thoughts. We're going to talk about regions one more time. It's sort of like the big 2025 thing. Let's talk about some closing thoughts. So, Charge, what's on your mind? Just the last couple things in your mind. What are you thinking about? Anything?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a whole lot more that I already discussed, from prior shows or tonight. But I just thought it was a really, really well done, TBT cycle. I thought the format was great. The regions were great. Just obviously you can't script this stuff, but they finally got that alumni matchup that they so desired for many years in the championship. So that. Worked out really well for them. It's just everything about it. I just thought this was probably from a viewing perspective, the most fun I've had watching TBT in a really long time. Everything else, like I said, I think I've touched on. So for the sake of time and show, I'll let you put your thoughts out there.
Okay, I'm long-winded, so I'll go for a bit. So let's talk about some negatives first because we keep it pretty honest here. We love TBT, but let's talk about some negatives. Let's talk about a couple small things. Jake, I'm not gonna put it on the screen, but we're gonna talk about that in just a second, actually. So anyway, attendance. Let's start with actually a positive. Attendance was at an all-time high. They said it was 80,000 people, which is amazing. Like, and that's a testament to how well they've done, how great the regions generally were. Hinkle was amazing. Kentucky did business, both regions, and always Dayton always does business. I mean, they're just incredible. They're just incredible. And Wichita, they're going to go to Wichita until Wichita's sick of it. They're just going to go. So I will say, though, one thing that was surprising is John Flowers, specifically from West Virginia, tweeted that he thinks no one heard about it this year. And I do wonder if the transfer from Fox to ESPN hurt the marketing. So something you're going to have to figure out. Like, it seems like the buzz at the regional level was less in some ways. Maybe it's fatigue. Maybe West Virginia might be a little tired of this, maybe. The other thing I found really interesting about this year is the TV or the broadcasts both got incredibly better and incredibly worse. The Fox deal was, besides the Kentucky-Louisville game, the second biggest story of TBT. Like getting over the air, getting 3 games over the air, which became 2 because Joe Biden withdrew. So it became 2, but it was supposed to be 3. That was amazing. And the Fox broadcast brought fresh air to it. ESPN treated this program and this property lovingly, helped build it. They were a great partner for TBT, but the best way to get a better future deal is to walk away from one. And Fox treated this like the crown jewel it really is. Fox really put resources behind it, and they put their TV FS1, FS2 games were killer. Like they were great broadcasts. I could not be more impressed. Which brings us to the stream. The streaming was charged. We just say it's weak. We can be honest here. We can say it was weak. They were single camera. The production value wasn't befitting of the tournament's quality. The games, there were no replays. You saw Purple and Black complained. I said actually Purple ran. I still call them Purple and Black. Complained they couldn't get a review because there's no camera to review. They couldn't review things. So like the tournament deserves a better streaming partner, and that's something you're going to have to figure out. Having said that, I mean, besides that, this was the most amazing event this year, right? Like besides that one quibble, like the regions were. This is the sickest regions we've ever had, right, Charles? Like this is the best regions we've ever had.
Yeah, yeah. Interesting you bring up the streaming games not having video replay. Obviously critical. Obviously, typically one play doesn't make a game. It actually came up
Oh
right
wow.
out of the gate in the Everline game. So Arkansas, I can't remember what the situation was, but they were looking to review a call right towards the end of that game, and they weren't able to do so. It was obviously communicated out to the teams in advance, but obviously when you're in the moment, in the heat of the moment, you want that. But yeah, I totally agree. It was a great cycle, and they care about the product. So and the great thing is they're open to feedback, so they'll 100% improve on these things
No doubt.
every
No
year.
doubt. It's going to be miles better issue. I think they know it's a problem, and they've never been anything besides proactive. So I can't imagine the streaming is not a massive improvement next year. I assume in fact that'll be the biggest difference this next year is the streaming will be amazing. Which begs the question I'm going to leave for all the people here is what would be the ideal streaming partner for TBT? They probably can't go to ESPN Plus because I doubt Fox wants to partner with their arch rival, even a tier two rights. A lot of media properties will build tier one tier two rights and split them. That's very common at the college level, tier one, tier two, three rights. So it does not surprise me if there's another person that comes in, but who is that? Like who is a appropriate streaming partner for an event that is this big, but Fox doesn't have streaming. So that's a huge thing they're going to have to figure out. Otherwise, incredible experience, which brings us how we're going to end the show. Is we like to talk about, we like to do a few graphics, and I want to show you. So let's look forward here. Let's look forward here a little bit, and let's talk about some regions. That's always something we find pretty interesting is kind of what happens next, like what is going to happen next year. So we have a map I made pretty quickly. It's a very small map. And I broke up the regions into locks, likely, contenders, outside chance, and long shots, and things that we're kind of thinking might happen. So, Charge, let's talk about those each tier a little bit. And you can disagree. I made the map, so we might disagree a few things. So, I think it's pretty safe to say the locks for next year would be Wichita with the Shockers, Indy with the Dogs or Assembly, unless they get to actually the Indiana or the Indiana campus, which is possible. Louisville with Ville, they have to do again. 13,000 people can't be wrong. And Dayton, the Red Scare, unless there's fatigue there, those are all pretty good locks, Charge. Do you think any of those are pretty safe?
Yeah, I think 3 to 4 are. We've been talking a little bit about Dayton, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean it's a great arena, great host, but once again, do you freshen it up? Carmen's is straight off their win, so maybe something else changes. Obviously, I think Cincy has to change, but I think Lexington definitely comes back. I think that whole vibe and the way they matched up those regionals. I mean, you couldn't get 14,000 people in Louisville or whatever the number was without Lexington. And so just the way they put that matchup, and I guarantee, Rupp would have filled up with the same numbers if, the shoe was on the other foot. And so it's a growing stage for Lexington, but I don't think you abandon that no matter if they were weaker than Louisville this year.
Yeah, Jake says he agrees. I think that's what we're trying to shoot too. And they made the likely list. The reason I didn't put them as a lock is I do wonder, if we talk about when we talked about the regions for the shows earlier, is if there's too many regions so close, it's tough to get the team spread. You just don't care. I know you just want the money in the game. I understand. You're a capitalist. I got it.
Just
So that
yeah,
works.
no, it works. It works. I love what they did. Keep it up.
And then let's go ahead and talk about the likelies. And yeah, Lexington obviously, like I only didn't put them at locks. I'm concerned about diluting two places 2 hours an hour apart, but it did work. It is Rupp Arena. If they want to come back and do it, I doubt they turn them away. And Stars of Stores, I think they have to go. They're well organized. They haven't had a Northeast one in a while. I hope if they go to Stores, they make this 2 weekends again because I kind of have to go to Stores. I want to be able to go to two regions. I can't justify going to the Midwest. Please make it 2 weekends again. I know Charge hates it. I want 2 weekends again. Yeah. Well, I'm
Nobody wants 2 weekends but you. Everything
do.
is.
Everything's
It's not.
about me. Everything's about me. Let's be very clear about that. Jacob, hold your thought, Jacob. Hold your thought. And hold your thought, Charge Jr. Contenders. Okay. So these are teams I think that have a legitimate way to do it. So first of all, Herd went out kind of sad, so did West Virginia, but they're still brands. It might be time to go at Charleston. Wheeling didn't have it. Pitt didn't draw as well. Charleston might be back on the thing they drew. I know Charles doesn't like that one so much. And yes, Zach, I will say, champions hosting Columbus. I asked him about that at the press conference. I think it's quite possible they go to Columbus. And that's where the Dayton conversation comes in, Charge, right?
Yeah. I think I mean, they had Cincy, Dayton, but I mean, you just can't do too much there because I think the stores thing is going to be interesting if you find something else geographically on the East Coast, or maybe it's a Syracuse in the stores. I mean, why not if they come back? But it just depends on the teams. A lot of the Philly teams, Happy Valley, Du Bois, those guys would definitely be playing up there in the Northeast somewhere. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. A lot of questions, a lot of things to be asked. But I really hope Columbus gets back in the game. A little bit of a different setting than we've been seeing in. We were at Capital University for however many years they were. Nice host, nice small arena. But I think the way TBT's going and growing, I'd love to see a bigger show out there in a bigger arena.
I mean, I think if they can get it on the downtown arena, if they can get even lower bowl only, if they can put 8 in there, I think it's a no-brainer to possibly give Dayton a year off. And not this isn't. But when I say that, it's not just about Dayton. Dayton's amazing; they're a great fan base. You got to give guys a breather occasionally. Like you're asking them to do it every summer. Giving them a year off might just be good to just refresh the blood. So that's not saying Dayton's not a great host. Dayton's an amazing host, but a year off is good for people occasionally just to have a rest, I think. So anyway, outside chances, some teams that like we've heard about. And these are some of the things that we're talking about. And that's where you bring up a few. I put Houston as an outside chance because apparently they didn't really draw much, but they were a finalist. There's a decent chance they actually do get asked back. But like their attendance numbers I don't think were as good. So it might be a bit of a tough lift to go back, but they would like to probably stay in the Texas market. So it's worth considering. Arkansas really wants this. They've talked about it. Supposedly Calipari's behind it. Calipari was at Philly, which I wasn't allowed to talk to him for obvious reasons with the Memphis shirt. But he's behind it. He's a huge name. If he really gets behind it, yeah, Jake, that's exactly what we're talking about here. I'll just put that up. Yeah, because the reality is like Arkansas, but Fayetteville's a tough thing. If you put it in Little Rock, maybe it's more of a thing. I don't know. Like that's worth considering. Auburn's got a great fan base. You're pretty close to Atlanta. Maybe get the Volunteers back in. Maybe you get an Alabama team. Maybe the Florida teams have a natural short drive. Like you can maybe make that work. It's worth mentioning. Charge the long shots. Let's have some fun with this. So these are the ones that are most intriguing. Charge, make your case, and Jake wanted to ask about it too. Make your case for Boise.
Yeah, Boise would be interesting. And we've been talking about this for a while now, and I don't know how you make it work, but we just think the West Coast has to be represented in some form or fashion. And kind of talking about what I know in some of these site selections, that obviously they want a big crowd, they want fans to show up, they don't want it to be a dead environment like the 7 people that watched Eberline in Salt Lake City or whatever that number was, or the Las Vegas. Everline's played in some interesting venues and crowds in their career, but Boise really has the support of the university. That's probably one of the more important things that TBT is going to be looking for. And you just have, whether it's Colorado, whether it's Boise. I just think you need to kind of push out west a little bit. Boise, I go to Boise probably once every 2 or 3 months. It is a great city, a lot to see, a lot to do outside.
How do you get there?
It's miserable. They don't. I mean, it's a great small airport, but I mean everything's connecting, and it's. I swear, when I go to Boise, I just plan on missing my flight and just rolling with the punches. But to me, it is tough to get into. But it is a great city. It's a university supports it. Then you start to look at the Colorado states, maybe some of these West Coast teams that we haven't seen in a lot of years. The UCLA's come back, Gonzaga comes back. Who knows? So I think ultimately what it's going to depend on is what TBT has in the hopper. So make no mistake, they already are talking with teams for next year. And so stores, UConn's going to be back. Providence is going to be it. So I think that's going to kind of hinge on it, is what type of commitments they have. And if they truly think you can have a great region out there, I think, you'll need to have at least 6 alumni teams that are somewhat regional to make it worth the while. But we'll see how it goes. And then the Duke one, just kind of talking about that one, I'll keep rolling, is I don't believe a word Duke tweets, so I'm not going to get too excited about it. They actually had an account a few years back thinking they were going to get a Duke TBT team in that never surfaced. But to me, that would be incredible, and I think that'd be a good partner with Stores. And just last comment, I love, like you said, you're not as big of a fan because you want to see 2 weekends, but Arkansas being close enough to Wichita, I just love that concept. So whatever they need to do to kind of, but don't
I don't
change
think it's
it.
close as I don't think it's close as you think. Actually,
Yeah, it's close enough though. It's not going to Houston for God's sakes, but
Wichita to Fayetteville.
it's
I
a
don't think
few
it's that
answers.
close. It's 4.5 hours. It's
Virginia,
not that close, actually. I think for a
four and a
daily
half is
trip.
nothing. That's nothing. TBT World, yeah, but yeah, Virginia, NC State. I hope Duke at least finds a way. One of those teams in the Carolinas, obviously NC State, Virginia. Those guys are tough, but I think if you get a Duke in there, it'd be amazing. But yeah, who knows? We're just throwing darts out here.
Yeah, we're throwing darts. We're not serious. We're not serious people. Yeah, I think Duke thing is interesting, and I think we got a lot to look forward to. All right, so Charge. I don't know how much of this we're going to do. We always talk about maybe doing a little in the off season, also about not doing it. So I'll call you if I need you, but I guess it's likely we're on hiatus until what, next March?
Yeah. Whenever I can't remember when things got
Whenever I
rolling
bother
this
you,
year.
right? Whenever I
I
bother
think
you.
early January. Yeah, pretty much. I think we got rolling in January at some point, but I don't know. We didn't do any shows, but yeah, whenever TBT gets the ball rolling and some excitement, and we know the deadlines, and we'll be back in action in some form or fashion.
So I guess that's the key thing. I'll leave with this. We'll talk a little bit. We're almost out here. It's only an hour, and it's a long show, but we're fine. We're just kind of chatting. This is a kind of a closing time kind of show, anyway. One, I think I can speak for Charge in saying that we really love doing this for you guys. We do wish we had a few more listeners. So you guys let us know what stories you want to hear. Because I mean, we don't mind screaming into the void, but we like to scream into a little bit less of a void sometimes. So if you guys know what you want to hear about, let us know. Also, but it is a real privilege to know everybody in this community. It's been a lot of fun the last 5 seasons doing this. We've produced over 150 episodes already, easily over 150 over 5 seasons. And we've been to, God, I mean, I've been in person 5 years. You've been in person 4, right? As a media.
As media, yeah, I don't even know. I didn't go to any game last year, which was interesting. But yeah, I started 2016 driving down to Columbus, so 2016, 2017. So I think I've seen the last 8 years live, and I skipped one media year. Just wasn't lining up the way things wanted to line up last year. So, but yeah, been around for a while. So
yeah, well, it's 11 years of which we've been active participants in 5 plus. I mean, we did that one bracketology 1 year. Anyway, no one cares about us. Care about the event. So, Charge, any last thoughts?
No. Yeah, I think just overall great year, and echo the sentiments that you mentioned. So to me, it's if anyone wants to hop on talk TBT, it's kind of grown into a nice community behind the scenes with the fantasy games group chats. Venting about TBT, recognizing TBT for some great things, and so it's just a really fun community. So we love it, and yeah, so Jake. I felt bad for him. I got to have dinner with Jake and Vinny before they headed out to Houston. Poor Jake was going to have to go like 2 a.m, probably pick up these guys, drop them off at the airport, and shuttle back to Detroit. So I'm like, you sure you want to do that? I'll help you out. But yeah, Jake, Matt, Vinny, obviously, got to know you guys over the years, and any support you guys need. And I don't know if you were on, but I mentioned it at the very beginning. You didn't tell me Mike Ertl was meeting me at the airport or at the hotel, so I almost left Ertl behind. But he called right before we got down past like 106, and so we got him back in there. But just a great group of guys, and that's part of the fun. Obviously, not just the GMs, but some of the players getting to know those guys. But anytime you need help, I mean, offers open. Anyone who comes to Butler, love to help out where I can.
On that note, well, Charles, you've been a great partner for 5 years. Here's to a successful 6 whenever we start to do this shit again. And guys, it's been a real pleasure helping you guide everybody who cares about this event for the last 5 years to what's going on. So thanks for being with us. Thanks for letting us into your lives, and thanks for talking TBT with us. That's a great place to close. It's been an hour exactly. Let's just get this over with. Charge, always a pleasure. I'll see you when I see you. And this has been Zoom the TBT, and we are for 2024 signing off.
Hope you enjoyed listening to Zoom the TBT with Charge and Hayner. Subscribe to YouTube, follow on Twitter, and give us your money.